Good morning. Well, it might not be morning for you, but it's morning for me. I hope you're having a good long weekend. We're going to continue reading Save Me a Seat. Before we read, Ravi and Joe are on a journey trying to navigate the first week of school while dealing with a bully. We are getting to learn more today about that big thing they start to realize. Ravi and Joe are on a journey. I just read that. All right, we are on chapter Thursday, macaroni and cheese. Chapter 26, Joe. Mia is hogging the bed, so I sleep crooked and wake with a creaky in my neck. Sunshine is leaking in under the bottom window shade and hitting me smack in the face. That's weird. It's usually still dark when I get up. I roll over and look at the clock. It's 10:45. Holy smokes, I shout, jumping out of bed. I throw on some clothes, shove my homework in my backpack, and run downstairs without even tying my shoes. My parents are sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee. What's going on? I asked my mom. Why didn't you wake me up? And aren't you supposed to be at work? Bertie from the kitchen crew offered to cover for me, and you're not going to school today, my mother said quietly. I'm not. Are you going to say hello to your old man? My dad asked. I go over and give him a hug. I haven't seen him in over a week, and since he doesn't shave when he's on the road, his beard is pretty scratchy. Is it my imagination, or did you grow another foot while I was gone, he asked. I don't know, I say. Maybe. Does somebody want to tell me what's going on? Have a seat, Joey, my mom tells me. I'll get your breakfast. Usually on school days, I eat a couple of bowls of cereal and a smoothie in the morning, but my mother has made Havanos Ranchos, and she and my dad have already eaten, so she loads up a plate with fried eggs and corn tortillas covered in salsa and sets it on the table in front of me. Sprinkle a little of this on top, she says, getting a small glass of dish chopped up green stuff next to me. It's cilantro filled with vitamin K. Let me know if you want hot sauce too. Havanos Ranchos is one of my favorites, but for the second time this week, I've lost my appetite. Are we about to have a family meeting? I ask. My parents look at each other. Your mom and I do need to talk to you, Joe, my father says. Sounds like a family meeting to me. What do we need to talk about? I ask, even though I'm pretty sure I already know. My father turns to my mother. What's the boy's name again, he asks. Dylan, she says. Dylan Samry. Here we go. What kind of name is Samry, my father asks. He's Indian, I say. What's his problem with you, Joe? I shrug. Have you ever tried sitting down with Dylan and telling him how you feel? My mother asks. Come on, Gracie, my father says, shaking his head. Don't you know you can't talk to people like that? It doesn't work. What are you suggesting, Kurt? That he punch the boy in the nose? Says my mother. It would serve him right. These people come over here expecting to have it all. They ought to show some respect. What people, I ask. Immigrants, my father says. They're visitors in this country. Who do you think they are pushing? Who do they think they are pushing us around? Dylan's not a visitor. He was born here, I say. His dad's a doctor. You're missing the point, Joe, my father says. The point is you have to man up and fight back. Lower your voice, Kirk, my mother says. There you go again, Grace. Stop babying him or he'll never learn to stand on his own 2 feet. I know how to stand on my own 2 feet, I say. I do it every day. You just don't know about it. You wouldn't even know who Dylan Samry was if Mom hadn't taken the job at Einstein. We've been over this already, she says. I didn't have a choice. I needed the work. You promised me you would stay out of my business, Mom. You crossed your heart and promised. Mia whimpers. She can't stand it when I get upset. I reach down and pat her head. Your well-being is my business, too, my mother says. Great, now she's crying. How long has this samurai boy been bothering you, my father asks. I shrug. Why didn't you say something about it, asks my mother. I can handle it, I say. I'm going to call and speak to your principal right now, my father says, reaching for the phone. If you're not going to stand up to the bullying yourself, I'll do it for you. No, I shout, banging my fist on the table. No. You want me to talk about my feelings? You want me to stand up for myself? Fine, here goes. I hate that Mom works at my school. Now, I hate that she keeps breaking her promise and butting into my business. I hate that she has to wear that stupid apron and blow that stupid whistle in front of everybody. I hate that you're never home anymore, Dad. I hate that you think it's okay to call up my principal without even asking me how I feel about it first. I hate you're always telling me to man up and that you don't like people who aren't like you. Indians, you mean, he says. No, Dad, I mean me. What are you talking about? He says, you think I don't like you? Why don't you ever turn down the TV when Mom asks you to? Now, wait a second, my dad says. I'm not the bad guy here. I'm only trying to. Let me finish. Let him finish, Kirk, his mom says, reaching over and putting her hand on his arm. It feels kind of like I'm throwing up. I can't control what's coming out, and it's not going to stop until I'm empty. I hate that kids think I'm dumb and that teachers don't like me. I hate being afraid to raise my hand, even when I know the answer. I hate that I'm taller than everyone else in my class, including my teacher, and that the only real friend I have is a dog. Most of all, I hate Dylan Samory because he never, ever lets me forget who I am. That's how I feel. Are you happy now? I ask. Then I pick up my plate, scrape the eggs into the trash, and go upstairs to my room. Wow. How does Dylan's actions impact the way Joe feels about himself? What does Joe mean when he says, most of all, I hate Dylan Samory because he never lets me forget who I am? I want you to stop and jot and write that down, what you think. Chapter 27, Ravi. Primera storms into my room waving a piece of paper. Wake up, Ravi, and explain this to me right now, she says, pulling the sheets off my face. What is it, I ask, rubbing my eyes. What's wrong? Her hands are shaking as she pushes the wrinkled paper under my nose. I found this in your school backpack. What is it? I ask, sitting up and reaching for my glasses. Look at me, Ravi, she says, Primera, grabbing my chin and pulling my face towards me. Tell me what's going on. What have I done? I ask, trying to see what's written on the piece of paper. Amma comes in, takes the paper, and sits beside me on the bed. It's some kind of drawing, she says, smoothing the paper on her knee. I push up my glasses, rub my nose, and look at the paper. It's a cartoon of a bunch of people wearing the same t-shirt. Did you draw this? Asks Amma. No, I tell her. I've never seen it before in my life. Primera snatches the paper from me and studies it. Who is this boy? She asks suspiciously. Is that supposed to be you? Has someone been calling you names? She's pointing to the boy wearing shoes that look like giant potatoes. I know who it's supposed to be. This isn't me. It's the boy who sits behind me in class. He goes for special help. I call him Bigfoot. But his real name is Joe Sylvester, I say. Whoever drew this cartoon probably meant to give it to him and accidentally put it in my bag instead. I hope this will satisfy my grandmother and put an end to the drama, but instead she starts up again. Why do you and Mr. Big Feet sit together, she demands. Are you friends, Amma asks. We don't sit together. I sit behind him. The seating is alphabetical, I explain. Sarani Narni Narana comes from before Sylvester. And no, Amma, we are not friends. My mother knows me too well. What's going on, Raha? She asked softly. You have to tell me. I want to tell her everything. How Dylan Samory called me curryhead and how I ran away and hid in the bathroom. How I have not made a single friend at school and have been ridiculed and laughed at every single day since day one. I want to tell her that I have been tricked into tasting beef too, but I can't. Why does Ravi decide not to tell Amma what is really going on at school? What's wrong? Amma asks, squeezing my shoulder. Ow! I cry. Amma gently pulls opens the top of my pajama shirt and gasps. What happened? She asked, gently touching my bruise with her fingertips. Nothing, Amma, I lie. I just bumped myself. Primera turns on her heel and leaves the room, only to return a minute later wearing her sweater and shawl. She also has a scarf, a red dupatta covering her head. Where are you going so early in the morning? Amma asks. Primera ignores her. Get up, Ravi, she commands. Why? I ask. I am coming to school with you. I want to see for myself what's going on at this so-called Albert Einstein Elementary School. Nothing is going on, Primera, I say, and you cannot come to school with me. You cannot come with me to school. When did you start answering back to your elders, she says, her eyes flashing. It's all this American influence. Are you ashamed of your Primera now? Embarrassed of her Sari and Bindi? I'm sure that's not how he feels, Amma says. What do you know about it, Roshina? Primera snaps. Tell her, Ravi. It's true, isn't it? You wish your silly old Primera had stayed behind in Bangalore where she belongs, don't you? There's no place for me in your new America life, full of insulting cartoons and mysterious bruises. No, Primera, I say. I'm glad that you are here. But she ignores me and goes on. I'll tell your Priba to bring the suitcases from the garage. We'll buy a ticket today and fly back to Bangalore. Amma says, don't be silly, meanie Ma. Ravi just told you he doesn't want you to leave. Premier narrows her eyes at Amma. You're poisoned his mind, Rashina. That's what it is. We both know you don't want me here any more than he does. Stop, I shout. The reason you can't come to school with me is because I'm not going to school, Premima. Are you feeling sick again, Raha? My mother asked quickly, putting her hand on my forehead to check for fever. Let me feel your pulse, says Premima, putting her fingers on my wrist. Now, all of a sudden, her voice is quivering with concern. I am not sick, I push their hands away. I'm finished with Albert Einstein Elementary School forever. I quit. Boys and girls, we are seeing a big difference in Ravi. I want to capture these things in a character map. So if you want to look at your character map and capture those, I would do so now. Chapter 28, Joe. Joey? My mom is knocking on my door. Go away, I say, pulling the pillow over my head. But of course she ignores me. Why does she bother to knock if she's just going to come in anyway? You didn't eat your breakfast, so I made you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, she says. She sets the plate on my nightstand along with a glass of milk. I'm not hungry, I say from under the pillow. She doesn't say anything, but I can tell that she's standing there. I hear her sniffle, so I pull the pillow tighter around my head. I've heard enough crying for one day. I have to go to work, my mother tells me. Your dad's downstairs if you need anything. I'll be back later. After she leaves, I come out from under my pillow. I look at the sandwich, but I'm really not hungry. All I want to do is go back to sleep so I won't have to think about anything. Mia is staring at my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whining. I pull off one of the crust and toss it to her. She catches it midair, gulps it down without even chewing. I would give her the rest, but I'm not sure if dogs are supposed to eat peanut butter and jelly. I can't fall asleep, so I get up and play a couple games of Brick Breaker on my computer. Then I finish reading the last few chapters of Bud, Not Buddy. If the other books this Christopher Paul Curtis guy has written are as good as this one, I'm going to read them all. My appetite must be coming back because I drink my milk and eat the rest of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And when I'm done, I'm still hungry. Thursday is macaroni and cheese day at Einstein. That's the only part of school I'm sorry to miss today. A little mac and cheese would really hit the spot right now. My mom usually keeps a couple of boxes of instant kind in the pantry, but if I go downstairs, I might have to hear round 2 of my dad's stand on your own 2 feet lecture. Instead, I decide to do a page of math problems so I won't fall behind. Right when I think I'm in good shape, I suddenly remember the personal collection assignment Mrs. Beam gave us. It's due tomorrow. Crud! Mrs. Beam had reminded us about it yesterday, and this time I managed to write it down, which is lucky because it turns out that it isn't a personal collection she wants, it's a personal reflection. We're supposed to pick some object that represents who we think we are and then write something on the index card about why we chose the object. This is exactly the kind of touchy-feely stuff I can't stand. What am I supposed to do? Bring in a pair of my earplugs and write I have APD on the card? I hear a sound out in the hall, and when I turn around, I see a white envelope slid under my door. It has my name written in the front of in capital letters, Joe. I'm not sure I even want to open it, but my curiosity wins. Dear Joe, I'm not the best with words, but that doesn't mean I don't know how to say I'm sorry when I'm wrong. You said that boy Dylan never lets you forget who you are, but it's not his job to remind you. It's mine. You are smart and funny and the best son a father could ever have. There is more to you than meets the eye, Joseph James Sylvester, and don't ever forget that. Love, Dad. P.S. Interleague Philly Sox Series this weekend. Want to watch it with me? I read it 3 times. It's the first letter my father has ever written to me, and it takes a while for the words to sink in. Mr. Barnes had a bunch of quotes on the wall in his classroom. One of them was, "Writing can change the world." I think I finally understand what it means. I also know that I am going to bring to school the next day for Mrs. Beam's assignment. Wow. I know this probably made him feel better, and this letter shows me and Joe that his dad loves him very much. And it kind of almost made me cry. Chapter 29, Ravi. I'm sitting in the living room in my pajamas drinking a cup of Ovaltine. Quitting is not an option, my father tells me. Your father is right, says Premima. Look how hard he is working in America, Ravi. Taking the train up and down every day, always on the phone. Do you see him giving up? Premima picks up his newspaper and goes out to the living room to read in peace. Premima gets the bottle of red Averdic oil from the medicine cabinet, and Amma rubs some on my shoulder to relieve the pain. Put this on, she says, handing me the red sweater and Manchi monkey hat that my other grandmother knitted for me as a parting gift. You need to cover up if you're coming down with a cold. Get back into bed and rest. When you wake up, I'll make you some raspman and rice. I repeat, says Appa as he straightens the knot in his necktie. Quitting is not an option. My life is a mess. Sleep is the only escape I can think of, so I do as my mother has told me. I put on the sweater and the tight monkey cap, which covers not only my head but most of my face, and go back to my room. I wake up at 1:30 in the afternoon, dripping with sweat. I pull off the sweater and monkey cap and throw them on the floor. My shoulder feels a little better, but my sleep has not been a restful one. Miss Frost's face haunted me in my dreams. Assumptions are often wrong, she kept saying again and again. Where's the monkey cap? Premima asked when I come downstairs. The wind in this country will be the end of us all. There's no wind inside the house, Premima, and the monkey cap is soaking wet. Emma must have turned the temperature up. It feels like an oven. Are you hungry, Ravi? Hurry and eat your mother's ramsa, Premima tells me. Then we will get to work. Work on what, Premima? Your mother and I have gone through your backpack, she says. You have been slipping up on your assignments, Ravi. No wonder you wanted to quit. She hands me my agenda book and points to something I have written on the first day of school. Personal reflection. Bring in an object that you feel represents who you are, along with a one-sentence explanation for why you chose this particular object. Please write your sentence on an index card and do not put your name on the card. It's due tomorrow, Ravi, Emma says. Why haven't I seen you working on it? Did you forget? Don't worry, says Premima. While you were sleeping, your mother and I have taken care of it. What do you mean? I asked. We went to Staples and bought all the supplies, Emma says, and I brought you more mechanical pencils too, Raja. I was hoping she wouldn't notice the pencils were missing. I know they disappeared, but I have no idea where they went. You're too soft on him, Roshina, sniffs Premima, losing all his pencils and the napkin from his tiffin box too. If his father had been so careless with his things, I would have made him pay to replace them. Emma reaches out and takes my hand. Leave your asthma to cool and come see what we've done, she says. The truth is, Mrs. Beam's assignment had totally slipped my mind. Personal reflection? At first I had thought it would be easy. I hadn't even given it a second thought. I knew who I was, but now after 3 days at Albert Einstein Elementary School, I am no longer the same person I used to be. I am Curryhead, a loser who can't speak English and has no friends. Wow. Ravi says here that he knew who he was, but after 3 days at school, he's not the same person? This matter makes me realize how action towards another person and how we treat others can really change a person's view of himself. And that's kind of sad, and we need to remember to treat others nicely. Why do you think Ravi feels this way at the moment? Emma and Premima lead me to Appa's office. Spread out on the desk are colored markers, a gold pen, and a silver one. White liquid glue, glitter, glass, gems, and all kinds of glittery stuff. A piece of white card paper lies in the middle and the top in her neatest cursive my mother has written. Rahas, sharp and shiny like a sun. The letters are gold. The borders decorate. The borders decorated with glitter and gems are elaborate as a Tanhor painting. Under this, they are glued down photographs, each with a shining border of its own. Pictures of me receiving the award for winning the Math Olympia. Me standing on the podium with a gold medal for running. Me holding my certificate for the best outgoing student at Vita Madir. They've even taken one of my real medals and stuck it on the chart with sellotape. I should feel on top of the world seeing all these reminders of my success, but instead my stomach is churning so badly I think I'm going to be sick. Do you like it, Raha? My grandmother asked, her eyes twinkling with pride. I'm sorry, Premima, I say as tears begin to flow. I can't take this to school. You were right. All of Premima's hard work at the tea plantation was for nothing. I am a complete failure in America. She looks at me and her face is soft. Don't cry, Ravi. Everything will be okay. Then she pats me on the back and quietly leaves the room. What is wrong, Ravi? My mother asks. You have to tell me. This time I do. When I have finished pouring out my heart to Emma, she puts her arm around me and wipes my tears with her pulua and end of her sari. Don't worry, Raja, Amma says softly. I want to believe my mother, but nothing she has done so far has helped me. Not the Nana Kahadas, not the Khan Distorted, not even her black tongue. Ravi? Pramima is standing in the doorway with my grandfather. Your Priyipa has something to tell you. My grandfather is wearing a warm sweater and a monkey cap of his own. In his hand he holds a small tea strainer he has brought from the kitchen. Come, Ravi, he says. I have an idea. So as we're reading, what major events happened in our reading today that impacted our characters' feelings? I can think of two huge ones with parents. What possible themes are emerging? What can we learn that impacts how we treat others in our classroom this year?